let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show.
Hey everybody, on today's show, we are going to discuss the ever quickening and thickening plot when it comes to the 2020 election being stolen, and how the media is, not discussing it. Big shock. So stick around for that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box. Show your fucking money.
I'm old enough to remember when I got kicked off of Twitter like 17 times, along with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and, whatever, for questioning the 2020 election, and also the whole reason that COVID happened, which, spoiler alert, was so they could cheat in the 2020 election. But anyway, we all were kicked off every single platform for speaking the truth. And these people ruined the lives of Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these people that were sitting there taking depositions from witnesses in the 5 swing states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and what was the other one? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia. Okay? So those 5 swing states, after the 2020 election, which I will never forget again, I've said this story before, but it bears repeating. I was literally at my mother's deathbed. She was in hospice, and I was the only one left in the hospital with her, and we hunkered down to watch the results. Or I hunkered down, and I said, well, Mom, we're going to see what they do. We're going to see if Trump can actually pull this off, considering all the shenanigans we already know about. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that when everybody started to shut down at 10:30 at night Eastern, and this is why I remember it so vividly, because I was sitting right there going, I can't effing believe they're going to do this. I cannot believe it. They're like, State Farm Arena? Well, we're tired. Also, there's a water leak, you guys. We have to send everybody home. You remember that? Well, obviously, there were 4 other cover stories that they gave for the other states, but Georgia was interesting because Georgia had some receipts when it comes to the cheating. Now, when they sent everybody at 10:30 home at night, my mother died, like right then and there, and I was quite torn up about everything that night, obviously. But let's get to some of the stuff I've collected, because this really bears repeating. A couple of weeks ago, in the Georgia House, or in the Georgia in the Georgia legislature, okay? Now remember, who do they have as governor? Piece of shit Brian Kemp. Who do they have as Secretary of State? Piece of shit Brad Raffensperger. Although, when you look at the strange deaths connected to certainly Brian Kemp, where his daughter's boyfriend's car just blew up out of nowhere right after the 2020 election, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, where they got into, and my guess is probably yes. Anyway, here's the point. Republican state has not gone Democrat in, who even knows when Georgia went Democrat last, okay? So the fact that Senator Knee Pads and Puddinhead Peepaw are going to sweep a reliably red state is stupid, okay? Even Brad Raffensperger, in case you forget, here's Brad Raffensperger, after they shut everything down at 10:30 at night and sent everybody home, except like Ruby Freeman and her daughter and some other guy, and we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that lady in a minute. Sent all those people home, and then he was like, gets up in the morning and he goes on like Good Morning America. He's like, listen, I hate to break it to everybody, but Trump is totally winning. Roll that clip.
Mr. Secretary, good morning on a busy morning. I guess the big question is, Hoda?
Yeah, we want to know, when are we going to get your votes? When are we going to find out who's won your state?
Well, we have about 2% left to go. We had great success yesterday. We had 4.7 million voters that voted. Record breaker for us, beats the 4.1 in 2016. We also had average wait time of only 2 minutes, statewide average. We have about 2% left to go. And you can see where we are right now with the results that have been reported. I don't think it'll change any of the outcomes, but that's what really people that make those predictions do. What we'll do is get...
Well, that was interesting, though. We were just getting to the good part there, because the Secretary of State said they got 2% left to count, Chuck. but he did not think it would change the outcome.
That's interesting.
But then he deferred to the prognosticators, which I think is over to you.
Look, I can just tell you what our model's saying is where those counties are. They are heavily Democratic counties, and it's the Atlanta number. So it is going to shrink. Perhaps, if I were an arbiter of an election result, I wouldn't want to be the one saying yes. And when we count the vote, it'll change the result. I think his job is to be the umpire.
Well, let's ask Mr. Secretary. Can you hear me now? You just were saying something.
I'm getting phone bombed or something.
Oh, okay. Well, fair. You're a busy guy. You're probably all your friends wanting to know the same thing we want to know, which is when is Georgia going to report its results? But you said something interesting, sir. You said 2% left to count. You didn't think, however, that it would be changing the outcome. Right. Is that based on your analysis of where those votes are outstanding, or are you just guessing it because of the fact that it's only 2%?
We don't guess. What we do is report. We just see where the candidates are right now in both presidential, congressional, senatorial. And you look at how many votes are out there. Even if one of the candidates got 100%, it probably wouldn't be enough to move it one way or the other.
Gotcha.
But it is what it is. We'll just wait till everything's done. The counties are working diligently to get that done today.
Okay, so not only was he winning, they were trying to figure out how the hell are we going to get this puddin' brain peepaw and Senator knee pads over the finish line. So here's what we have now learned. Here's how they did it. New stunning admission. I'm reading from Lindell TV. God bless my pillow. Stunning, Mike Lindell, side note, that guy has been destroyed, or they've tried to destroy him too, because Mike Lindell put on the cybersecurity forum, which I literally watched every second of. And I don't even know. I mean, certainly I bet you could find it on Rumble. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up cybersecurity symposium or whatever, 2020 election. And it's 3 days long of evidence, essentially. Evidence of they cheated, and they did it in many different ways, and they had many different lanes, and they had many different people not talking to each other, but they did it. All right, let me get back to this. This broke this last week, and most Americans still haven't heard a word. Fulton County. So Fulton County, where Ruby Freeman, her daughter, and some other schmuck were pulling out suitcases of ballots at 1:30 at night. We're going to get to that, lady, like I promised. In Fulton County, they admitted that it certified 315,000 early votes without required poll worker signatures. That means the votes were certified illegally, ladies and gentlemen.
This story broke a few days ago, and yet most Americans still haven't heard a word about it. In a stunning admission, Fulton County, Georgia, has confirmed that 315,000 early votes were certified without the legally required poll worker signatures, meaning they were certified illegally, which means the ballots were never verified to be real as required by law. The mandatory safeguards were skipped, and the uncertified votes were approved anyway. Americans were shamed for asking questions, and now officials are forced to admit they were right to ask questions. And here's what makes this even more damning. A Fulton County judge has now kept subpoenas alive, seeking access to those 2020 ballots, confirming this issue is serious enough for the courts to intervene. Yet the mainstream media still refuses to cover this tremendous admission, because acknowledging it would mean admitting they helped silence legitimate questions about fair and free elections. This is not new speculation. This is not a resurfaced claim. This is a new admission on the record, made in court filings and confirmed by county attorneys. State officials have also acknowledged Fulton County violated official election processes in a huge way, and yet there's total silence from national media. And why does this matter now? Because poll worker signatures are not cosmetic. They are the legal verification step that confirms voting machines were properly opened, properly closed, and properly reconciled. When those signatures are missing, the verification process itself is broken. Officials insist the issue was procedural, but procedures are the safeguard. Without them, voters are asked to blindly trust explanations given after certification instead of safeguards enforced before certification. Georgia, quote, hand counted the ballots in a controversial audit in 2020, but it is now admitted they counted uncertified ballots. They never bothered to check if the ballots were lawfully verified before certification, meaning a mandatory statutory condition was skipped. In short, counting ballots later does not make an improperly verified certification legal. And remember, in 2020, Georgia was decided by a mere 11,779 votes, and the consequences went far beyond the presidency. Georgia's election results flipped 2 U.S. Senate seats, costing Republicans Senate control and helping deliver a full federal Democratic trifecta in Washington, fundamentally altering the balance of power for years. This is not only about relitigating the past, it's about confronting a present-day reality. If election violations can be admitted years later with no investigation, no consequences, and no reform hearings, what message does that send heading into the next election cycle?
Is anyone surprised by any of this? And the fact that the media has kept its mouth shut, what? I mean, it's Christmas, we can't talk. Please, if this were flipped, and let's just say that if this was flipped, and some state had come out and saying, yeah, we got a lot of calls from President Putin, like in person, telling us to fudge this for Trump. You don't think the media would have stopped everything and put on a parade? Of course they would have. So they were in on it. We all know this. Now let me get to some other stuff that has to do with this, because there's a lot of these stories now kind of breaking fast and wild. And I guess what I'm hoping is that even though the media is going to ignore it and the Democrats are going to ignore it, that eventually this is going to start permeating in the bloodstream. Okay. Now, let's get to Ruby Freeman and her beautiful daughter. Now, Ruby Freeman is a lady who was, she's an election worker in Fulton County. And, because of that big water main leak, where they basically, what it was like in the State Farm Arena, guys, that water leak was like the Shining scene with the blood coming out of the elevator, like gushing out. Like that's how dangerous that water leak was. Oh, wait, turns out it was just a leaky toilet. I mean, these people. You did too much and you did too little. You think we're all as retarded as the morons that watch your shows. Anyway, let me continue. So there is a lady named Ruby Freeman and her beautiful daughter. And in this video, you're going to be able to see them pulling out suitcases of ballots. And isn't that strange? And then the other clip I'm gonna play for you, and it's kind of hard to hear. So hopefully you're able to read what she's saying on it. Ruby Freeman is basically like, this is after, hey, someone needs to get me a lawyer.
8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in red. So he just pulled one out.
But the U.S. people, I would love to go live with that. Because the balance is history. Even though my name is still lingering, if people are going to believe what they want to believe. But now it's the U.S. report, so I need an attorney. I want to go live. I'll go live on every platform because it is going to blow your mind. And you are going to be amazed at that picture came to your mind. That picture came to your mind. And when you thought about me, you are going to be amazed. I can't say it. I want an attorney, and I want to go live. When I get the attorney, I can tell you then.
And then you know what happens right after that? Joe Biden decides to give her the Citizens Medal of Freedom or something like that. It's like, okay, this lady was paid off. And then here's what's the most disgusting part about this piece of shit, Ruby Freeman and her daughter. I mean, this is what Democrats do, though, isn't it? They think they're in the right. They think they are on the moral side of history. So whatever they have to do in order to get the outcome that's on the moral side, the right side of history, they'll do it. And they think they're completely in the right to doing it. They don't see the fact that they were putting in 98% ballots for Joe Biden as being problematic whatsoever. They don't have a problem with that at all. They don't have a problem with military ballots going in 100% for Joe Biden. They don't care. And that's why Joe Biden awarded her. And here's the worst part is that Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, the one guy who would be able to fix New York City right now, had they had any brains to have that done, but they don't. His whole reputation has been ruined because he staked everything on the fact that he was working the Georgia cases with Jenna Ellis, and he was like, this thing was stolen. It was stolen in myriad ways. And so Ruby Freeman and her piece of shit daughter decided to sue Rudy Giuliani for like $148 million. So they bankrupted him. They've tried to ruin this man's life. I mean, Trump pardoned him. He should never have had to pardon him. This whole thing is outrageous and insane. But as you can see, Ruby Freeman and her daughter were like, we know that we're doing the crime on video. Like, we know that we're doing that. However, we're black and we're on the right side of history. So we're going to sue Rudy Giuliani for $148 million for exposing us, showing that ass. All right. These people are pieces of shit. All right. Let me get to the Voldemort machines. And I call it the Voldemort machines because I do not want to get sued for $1 billion, which, you know, it's wild to me that these media companies, I think when everything started to go down, like with the cybersecurity forum and when the Voldemort machine names, along with the software that the Voldemort machines run, I'm going to say it one time. Okay, I'm going to say it one time. Dominion voting systems and the Smartmatic. Okay, so the Voldemort machines with this software that was being run on them. All right. They were, the allegation was in the cyber symposium, there were, I believe Phil Waldron did this. He came out and he showed maps of continents around the world and the United States. And he was able to show electronically where these votes were going, where they were coming from, I should say. A lot from China, Iran, some Russia, but it was mainly like China and that area. So some weird, random Eastern European countries too. And the implication is that the votes were being switched back and forth, okay? And of course, when you said that, the Voldemort machine people were like, we're going to make these lawsuits. This is a stain on our name. And again, they thought they were covered forever. Okay, they thought that they were going to, they've got this whole thing worked out, man. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They've got this whole thing worked out. And, the people we want to be in office are going to be there forever. So we're fine. So let's sue everyone for an outrageous amount of money, which gives the implication that they are in the right. No, of course they're not in the right. Anyway, let me get to this last clip here. Forensic experts reveal non-election personnel were remotely accessing Dominion voting systems during the 2020 election. Okay, so that's not necessarily the thing I was talking about with the votes going back and forth, which again, I'm not saying Voldemort machines. Hi, Bear. Come on in. Come say hi. My husband's being cute. Okay. I'm not necessarily saying that this is true or not. I'm just showing what they were showing on the map. Okay? Voldemort machines. But here's a clip of Voldemort machines showing that ass. Roll that clip.
Were designed to have several fail points. In other words, several major security risks.
Why would you say that it was designed that way?
Because no one, if they were building a system or a network, whether it be for a corporation or a government, no one would design these many security risks into a system if they wanted to keep the data and information unaltered and safe. I'll use Dominion's own words for these different levels of tampering of audit logs or device configurations. They assign a risk rating, and in many cases, the risk rating is high. These are Dominion's own words.
Do you happen to have the book in front of you? Because you said in the notes that I got that on page like 452 to 469, they outline in detail the high and medium risk that ballots can be tempered with.
Correct. Yes. Page 452, tampering with device configuration. The risk rating is high. Page 455, tampering with election result files. The risk rating is high. Tampering with transmitted election result files, also on page 455, risk rating is high. These are just a few examples. Why would
from
you
their
do that?
owner manual? What
their
would
own user manual?
Okay, and then here's the bottom line of this. If Joe Biden, let's say with everything just in Georgia, okay, and again, I think Georgia is the first shoe to drop. Okay, I think there's many more to come. And again, the media is going to ignore it as long as they can until they can't. But in Georgia, if Biden had gotten every single vote, this is from Johnny Midnight, had gotten every single vote of the last 2%, Trump still would have won. Okay, think about that. All right, Brad Raffensperger on TV the next day saying, yeah, it looks like Trump's going to got it. And then what? And then Joe Biden miraculously gets 99% of the remaining votes. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, you a-holes. I mean, there's so much with this. And I am praying. I am praying that the good guys win this. I am praying that people start to talk. Like Ruby Freeman, for example. If I were you, girl, you in danger, girl, Ruby Freeman. Ruby Freeman's going to have an accident or something. You know what I'm saying? I hope that she and her daughter get smart and realize they made their bed with some very evil people, and it might be time to start, singing. Or you're going to be found dead in a ditch somewhere, I predict. All right, that is where I'm going to leave today's video. Please let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. And I'll see you in the next video. I will be done. Peace!